There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. I'm Priscilla Ankustolson, your host. Today, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome one of our most outstanding Easton citizens, Carolyn Cole. She is the founder and director of the Shoveltown Cultural District, and she's here today to share a little bit about her background and a little bit about the district itself and what we can foresee in the future. Welcome, Carolyn.
Welcome to you. Thank you for having me on. And it's noted, I want to note that Priscilla is one of our wonderful volunteers that's been active throughout the work at the district, and we really appreciate her help.
Thank you. Oh, it's wonderful to have you as my mentor. Thank you. Okay, so Carolyn, tell us just a little bit about you, where you grew up and how you came to Easton.
Well, I grew up in Newton, Mass, lived in Boston for a while, and then came out with to raise my family in Easton. And one of the draws to Easton was, of course, the beautiful historical buildings and the open spaces, the great schools, great place to raise children. And I found that it's a small town, but with a lot of exciting nuances that you would think would be related to a big city, but it's still a small town, and people are very caring, and it's a wonderful place to live.
It sure is. I was born and raised here, so was my mother, and I was away for 44 years and came back 16 years ago. So I'm loving it. I'm in my childhood home, and I really appreciate being able to speak to so many Easton residents like you, Carolyn, so we learn a little bit more about you and what your goals are and the mission of the district. And so why don't you tell us how it happened that you decided you found this particular organization?
Well, it's kind of it's an odd story in that two of us actually were the impetus behind getting it going. At roughly the same time, Kit Minsky, who's quite a helper at the health department. If you have any questions, she's great to ask. And myself were both on the local cultural council. Kit heard about the ability to form a district, and at roughly the same time I did. I did because I overheard Patrick Duval, who was doing a fundraiser at Crescent House. I overheard him mentioning about a bill being passed that allowed towns and cities to develop a cultural district. And I found that kind of interesting. And when we went to the next local cultural council meeting, Kit and I brought it up. And actually Kit was the first one. She went to David Colton and Colleen Corona. David was the town administrator and Colleen was the chair of the Board of Selectmen, and asked about their interest in it. And she set up the first meeting. And so we went to the meeting, we explained what we were trying to do. Kit, unfortunately, because of family commitments, had to back out. So I kind of ran with it, and we developed the district. We found that the real goal behind it was to strengthen the economy of the local cities and towns, and to make people realize the importance of our culture. Culture, meaning many things. Culture meaning the existence of the way our town has developed from its beginning, and also the arts and humanities, and what an important part they play in not only in the economy of a local town or city, but also in the development of children and their education. The more culture you have, the more integration of society, and the better educated your child will be. And so it has a very direct impact on the economy and the school system and the stability of the real estate in the area.
No, that's a wonderful summation. It occurred to me that so many of the events that you have sponsored have included children, so that they're family events. I think about the Legacy at Governor Ames Estate that's held every June, or the musical program, the fellows who own Southeast Music Company in Southeastern. And so you try to include the family as much as possible.
Yes, and my thoughts were on two levels: families, and even if you're a family of one, and also a lot of seniors that are on their own. And our goal is really to provide two events that are involved more than just the district, that connect different businesses and community organizations, but also we try to do everything by raising funds. We try to do everything free of cost to the community or very low cost to the community. That way that if you're a family of 4 or 6, you can afford to enjoy finer art and music, and with no cost. And that's something we've really worked hard to do. And we thank the community for supporting us in that, because the funds comes from the community, whether it be individual or banks or whatever.
I noticed that Northeastern Savings and Bank of Easton often support your events.
Yes.
But do you apply for grants also?
Yes, we do apply for grants. We try not to compete too much with other organizations, so we try to limit that as much as possible. But if we have a particular, like a children's performer, say, at an event that we want, and we might go after a grant from that. We have been very lucky to have some individual sponsors. Some have liked to keep their name anonymous, so we don't tell them, but the Avery Lee Williams Family Trust has been a big supporter of us. And what was I going to say along those lines? We get a certain amount of funding from the state every year, and that has to be used. It's not a huge amount of money, but it has to be used by the end of the fiscal year, which would be June 30th. And so a lot of our bigger events, we depend on that funding. Because like the Legacy event, which is wonderful, it's costly, and we do not charge the public for that. And very successful event. We love doing it. And it involves a lot of community organizations, the Lions, for instance, the fire department. They get very involved with their citizens group, and I'm sorry that I forget the name of them right now, but the citizens volunteers that back up the firemen on any emergency and whatever, they're always there. The musical groups that we have, most of them are very heavily discounted for their services. And again, the Lions Club has been a big supporter of us, and the banks and everyone else in town. So it's been an experience.
Yeah, what I think is wonderful is for the Legacy is that your planning includes all ages. So you have art and crafts projects in the stable for toddlers through young age, preteens, and then you have rowing boats on the Shovel Shop Pond, which it always is. Families love to do that with their kids, parents of their kids.
Yeah.
And then the art contest. that goes from young people all the way to adults, and that's been very successful. But
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that's fun. And we do, an adult art show and a children's art show. And again, like we rely on the Historical Society for the children's art show. People love going in there and they display the art for us in the children's section. So that's another big plus for us. And yes, we do have a lot of support, and we do have activities for teens and young people and old. We have music in the tent all day long, and we always have a specific children's entertainer. And so that's been a very successful section of the show too.
And let's not forget the food. And
Yeah, the food.
I especially love the jazz bands. They are just phenomenal. And occasionally the high school jazz band plays too, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a Dixieland, we bring in Dixieland, we bring in regular jazz and blues, we bring in jazz, we bring in a little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll, as they say, a little bit of concert music. So we try to mix it up.
Thank you. Okay, and what is, when you look back over the years, what have you found to be some highlights, some successful events besides the legacy?
Well, some of our annual events, the other two annual events that are really, we have a lot of support is we always have an April art show, a spring art show, and we do that in conjunction with ECAT. And also that builds up during the year because we do an artist on display program. And
It's held in the ECAT offices, correct?
yeah, and several other places as well. We do the artist on display program, and that brings in new artists, and it gives them ability to show their art all over town, the library, the Y, ECAT. And then at the end of the year in the spring, we do a very large art show. Doug King has very nicely let us take over the entrance to 250 Oliver Street. And we go on the first and second floor and also include the ECAT offices. And we have a lot of artists. It's very, very popular. And again, it's free. We provide, wine and cheese, and it's a lot of fun. And also in the last couple of years, we've opened up the building to walk through into the Shoveltown Brewery, and they have art displayed there as well. And so that kind of opens the building up, and that's a lot of fun. And then in December, we do the Artisans Fair and Holiday Tea, which we've traditionally done at the Crescent House every year, which is a really fun event. We have artists and artisans that display. We have them display kind of unusual items that are all handmade. We try not to have the typical artists, the typical artwork in there or craft work in there. And it provides an option for people to get unusual Christmas presents or Hanukkah presents, and at low cost, but from very fine artisans. And and also the tea. That's again, we try to bring a different sense of kind of going back in history. And we provide the tea in the main dining room, and we always have live music for that event. The entrance to the event is free. The tea, of course, we do charge for that. And so it's kind of like the tea was started as a way kind of to gather people together, and especially people that might be on their own. And we found that the same crew comes almost every year, and they've made friends from that. And that's kind of a nice feeling. And of course, Crescent House is a lovely setting, and it's decorated. And Gloria Freitas and her company, she has some helpers. They decorate the tables for us, and we use real china. The first tea we actually called the Ritz in London, and they gave us some recipes and some suggestions. So we really have fun doing that. And in between all that, we've tried to focus some attention on Oaks Ames Memorial Hall. And now we've even added to the name a little. It's Oaks Ames Memorial Hall. And we have added Shoveltown Cultural District Performance and Event Center to that. And we've done dances, concerts, plays there we've brought in. And we found that when we started with the district, that I always felt that the hall never got enough attention and wasn't used as much. So we tried to use it a lot. And right now it's always booked. It's a great place to have an event. It's beautiful. And so that was one of our goals that we accomplished that we're very happy about.
I know it's a wedding event, and I hope to interview Joan Lundgren, who is the person who contracts people to use the event, use the hall, and Fred Ames. I hope to interview them next week. So we'll learn a little bit more about what's available. One of my favorite programs that you did at events was Tom Rush.
Yes.
Concert. And then it was so popular and he was so wonderful that you had it a second time.
We did.
My question to you is, when are we going to have it a third time?
Well,
He's
we
so
can. He's not easy to get, but yeah, we can. Well, we have to think about that when COVID's over, because
Okay,
it's a costly event.
Yes. Now that's my next question. How have you been able to survive? Have you been able to do anything during the time of COVID?
It's been very difficult because we've had to cancel events that we had already set up, like the art show in the spring we had to cancel. We had to cancel the Legacy. And it's very iffy about the Artisans Fair and Holiday Tea. We are attempting to do the Holiday Tea, but we may have to change locations. And also we need to know if there is an interest, if people are willing to go out, even if we provide separate seating and whatever. We obviously will provide the COVID safe seating, and also the art co-op.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we've had to keep that closed. We're considering opening shortly with limited hours, but that's a letdown. We've enjoyed doing that. That's the kind of place that people drop in on the weekends as they walk by and leave church. So we really have enjoyed, displaying art and selling art there, but also enjoy the company of people coming in and just seeing what's around. And so those are difficult things to do. It's kind of a letdown. One of the things that we were attempting to do at the Legacy Festival for 2020, and even if things are not settled with the regular festival, we intend to do it in this for the summer, is we had intended to and had set up a sculpture exhibit, a very large sculptures that would be displayed outside throughout Easton. And so we are going to do that. There's no restrictions on that. People can stay at a safe distance from themselves. I think if enough is displayed across town, we should be okay with that. So that's our next big project. So we're going to try for the tea and we're going to try for the other. We have been doing some filming of artists themselves, which have been displayed on ECAT. And so we will continue to do that. But that's where we're at now. I guess we're all at a standstill with COVID. And so it's just one of those things,
I think your idea of having the large sculptures displayed throughout the town is a wonderful idea. Certainly that will bring in artists, probably many of whom we haven't met before. So,
Yeah, it will be. It's the New England Sculptors Association. There are a few artists from the region here and a few from Easton, but they're all over the state. And some are very unusual. One of the pluses of that display too is that the people that want it at their location, they will get to choose the sculpture. So there won't be just, oh my God, there's a sculpture that I'm not planning on or I don't like. They will actually get to choose the sculpture for their location.
so it's not going to be a public place, it's going to be private places so that they can keep an eye on it. Is that the idea?
Well, no, it can be public. These are going to be very heavy. It would be very difficult to move. Most of them are very heavy. Somebody wouldn't steal them. And they've done this before at other locations and no one has, they are insured, but no one has experienced damage from vandalism or anything like
Right.
that. So,
Well, let's hope we get a vaccine sooner than later, one that is also safe and effective. We can't rush that. So I think maybe we'll be in luck for the legacy, because probably the vaccine will be distributed in the spring. So that's a good thing. And maybe even have that artisans show too.
yeah, well,
So,
it's, it depends on, COVID and, hopefully people will continue to do the right thing and keep us all safe and keep the numbers down.
Okay, one last question. Could you tell our viewers how to get in touch with you to offer suggestions for cultural events?
How would they offer suggestions?
Yes, what contact information can you give so that people can contact you if they have suggestions for?
Okay, well, they can contact me if they have suggestions, if they want to volunteer. They can contact me, Carolyn Cole, at Fairwind, FAIREWIND7 at AOL.com. And I'm sure it will appear at the end of the segment that we're doing now, so that they can contact me if they would like. Suggestions, volunteerism, we're open for it.
Wonderful. And
Originally when we started, we had which was required by the state, we had an open meeting and a lot of people did suggest things and we did try to implement. They had more concepts than actual ideas of things they would like to see. And so we have tried to work with that and accomplish what the public wants.
Okay, and one last thing, you do have a board of directors. It's not just you all by yourself, isn't that correct?
Right. And the problem is a lot of times it's wonderful to be the chair and everybody pat you on the back, but nothing can be accomplished without our core of volunteers. And now we've always had an advisory board and we've had a team for the art gallery co-op, but now we have a board itself. And so a board of directors, several of the board of directors have worked with us as volunteers and as idea people right from the beginning. So that's not new to them. But yeah, this is a new step forward, and which is very important because in order for the district to continue, you have to have leadership and you have to have somebody that can take over when I resign. And the idea is that as much as I love this job and love doing it, there's always a time for new blood to come in and it makes a big difference. And there's always a time for that. And always, we have to keep in mind that the certification is a 5-year certification. So in March of 2022, we have to reapply for the district status. The district is very important because it's another step in the downtown initiative. It's part of the program that helps bring funds into the town because it creates a certain atmosphere that the state is trying to develop. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Terrific. Okay. Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing sharing all of your expertise and all that information, and we appreciate it. Easton has been enriched by what you have been able to lead and your volunteers have been able to execute. So we thank you again, and good luck, and hopefully some of these wonderful events will happen in 2021.
I know, and thank you for having me. And this is a good opportunity for me to say again, thank you to all my volunteers, my supporters, and the board of directors, the new board of directors. Thank you for all the work that you have done. It takes a lot of legwork to get these kind of events to make them happen.
Right. Okay. As one of your volunteers, I thank you. Anyway, you take care.
You're welcome.
And that's it for today. I hope the viewers have enjoyed this program and learned a great deal from it. Until next time, stay well, stay safe.